I will showcase the deployment of multiple characters with different on-chain capabilities using ElizaOS framework. Here's the environment file of the project. We will be using OpenAI as the model provider and MultiverseX and Ton as the blockchains. I will not set the private key values here because as the idea is for different agents to have access to different actions and wallets, this will be set in the secret settings for each character. We will be modifying the files of the agent to allow for multiple characters because we found that the default way of assigning multiple characters, that is by using the character keyword when using PNP start, had some issues and gave all the agents the same actions and the same capabilities, and it was not the idea of this project. So if we go to the agent folder, we will see that we added some files that are the character files, and in each character file there is a section that are the secrets of the character. And here is we will set the secret for each character. Here is in the agent index, we have to replace the default character by all the characters we decided to add. We wanted our agents to be able to swap on both chains, but the swap action was only implemented in MultiverseX plugin, so we decided to add it to Ton's plugin. To this end, we decided to use Ston.Dex and its SDK that gives access not only to the assets that are available, but also to the functions to execute the swap. Using Stone SDK had the issue that for testnet, its capabilities are diminished and you can't query assets nor query the current status of a swap that is taking place. So those capabilities are available for the mainnet, but not for the testnet. So in the testnet, you can only get confirmation that the initial transaction that starts the swap is confirmed, but not that the whole swap is actually finished. Coincidentally, it is the same way in the MultiverseX plugin for the swap action. You only get confirmation that the initial transaction took place, but not that the whole swap has already finished successfully. Our implementation of the swap action with Stone SDK made it necessary to add some environment variables that, if left empty, are set in values that are currently working, but allow for the user to update to newer versions of routers and proxies when made available. Adding new actions to an existing plugin is quite straightforward. You have to define the action files in the corresponding folder and then just import it in the index.ts file of the plugin. So as shown here, we define the swap file, here is swap.ts, and we just import it here and we add it to the actions available in the plugin. In addition to adding the swap action and the query assets action in Ton's plugin, we made some minor tweaks in MultiverseX plugin. Firstly, we tweaked it a little bit so as to help the agent better differentiate both swap actions, because we found that it sometimes mixed them and called the wrong one. And then we also changed the response from MultiverseX plugin from a constant string to a response from the agent when the action was finished. Finally, we run the agent and the client in local development mode. It's PNP run dev for the agent and PNP start client for the client, and then we can interact with the agent through the browser. So now in the browser, we can see the default client with just minor tweaks for branding purposes and some cleanup with the three agents that were defined. They are all Dobby characters, with the only difference being which actions can they take. So when we talk with Dobby, Multiverse, and Ton, you can ask him, "Hi, what actions can you take?" and wait for his response. So here he tells me that he has abilities on Multiverse and Ton blockchain, so I will ask him to swap. So now we can ask him to trade, to make a swap in MultiverseX. and swap. And we just have to wait for the confirmation. Once the transaction is confirmed, we can check the transaction in the history of the wallet. We see that only the initial transaction that starts the swap is what is confirmed. The swap is still pending, and we can go to the Explorer and look for this transaction, and we will see that the status is still pending as was seen in the wallet. Finally, after some time, we can see that the transaction was finalized. So now what we can do is ask him to swap in ton. Can you swap? In this case, the waiting time will be higher because we are not waiting just for the initial transaction, but for the whole swap to finish. So after some time has passed, we have the confirmation of the swap and the information of the swap amount, the out amount that we didn't have in the multiverse X because, as I mentioned, we aren't waiting in that case for the swap to finish, but with the ton plugin, we can check as we checked previously, and see here all the different contract calls that were used to complete this swap. What we can also do is ask for the agent for information regarding a token in Ston.Fi. So and it will list the information that is later checked in order to allow the swap to happen. It checks for liquidity, at least that to have medium liquidity. It checks for that the token is not deprecated nor blacklisted, and it also checks, and it also mentions the price and gives you the address of the jet owning contract for this token. And finally, what we can do is ask one agent that doesn't have the ton capability to trade in ton chain, and it will tell us that it doesn't have that ability. Can you swap? Here I was asking the multiverse X Dobby, so it shouldn't have this ability. And he tells me that he can only do things on multiverse X.